gosh, my hat is taking up so much screen. Hello, my loves. It's your fairy godmother Mint, and welcome to my couch where I talk about things. First of all, my hair is pink. Welcome to this world. I may keep this color for a really long time. Pink hair is one of my favorite colors, hair. Black and like natural red hair and pink hair are my absolute favorite hair colors. They look delicious to me. Anyway, now that you guys know what turns me on. Today we are going to talk about grimoires / books of shadow. Book of shadows. Your book of shadow, your BOS. A lot of people ask what the difference between a book of shadows and a grimoire is. There are a lot of answers for that out there. Depending on different cultures, they use your grimoire for all of your magical workings, all of your spell work, all of your journaling, anything that has to do with your magic. Or some people also use their grimoire just as a family book. If your family is into magic, then any of the family spells or family workings would go into your grimoire. And that's like a book that the whole family uses. And then your book of shadows is just your personal book that you use that no one else looks at. Some people just use one book for everything and that's their book of shadows. That's it. Boom, done. It varies by tradition. For me, I use a book of shadows as my workbook. It's what I take down notes in. It's what I put down any kind of magical experiences that I have, experiences I have during meditation, just anything that I'm just like scrawling things in, blah, 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 writing down what I'm learning, or your like school notebook. And my grimoire is the hard copy, so any spells that I've been working on in my book of shadows, once that spell is solidified and done and successful and I like how it works, I've got all the ingredients figured out, I've got everything done and I like the way it works together, then it goes into the grimoire and that becomes like, it's like the place where it lives once it's finished. So anything that I'm working on, workbook stuff, goes in the BOS. Anything that is done, I like it. This man is, I don't know what that sound is. What is that? Is that a power saw? What is that? I really hope it's not loud. I'm sorry if it is. But I just stopped in the middle of a sentence. Grimoire is where everything goes once it's done, once it's solidified. And the grimoire is a book that I don't show anyone. The grimoire is a secret, personal book that perhaps my family can see, but that's it. Only people that I absolutely trust are going to see or even touch my grimoire. My book of shadows, I might share it with other people, other witches who are working on their path or who I'm working with. If I'm teaching people, I do share my book of shadows with them because it has a lot of general information and stuff like that. So I'll maybe read from it to them or you know, I'll bring it out and talk about it while I'm working with them. However, they don't take it from me like I've had done in the past, which is why I started a new book of shadows because my last one was indeed stolen. I will continue to share my knowledge with everyone, even thieves. So this is my new book of shadows. So when it comes to grimoires and book of shadows, I think it's super important for it to be very specific to you. I think that buying them in a store is great. If you see one in a store and you're just like, oh my gosh, that notebook is my notebook, that's what I want to put my magic in, then that's awesome. I've done that before in the past. But just picking a book picking a book frivolously and not putting any thought into it or putting any of myself into it seemed to make it so that it didn't last long for me. So it was kind of like, if you're not going to take the time to pick something out that's really important to you, then it's not going to stick with you. And I find that to be very true with almost everything in life. So when you're picking out your BOS or your grimoire, make sure that it's something that is personal to you. Maybe it has a style that's very personal to you. Maybe the color, the shape, the way it feels. Just make sure that it's something that feels very close to your personality and close to your magic. So this one is just a binder. I do recommend using binders for your book of shadows because then you can take pages out, put them in, do the plucka, switch it up and do everything you want. You can customize it and, you know, switch pages out and put pages in if you have more information about something. Like I said, mine is just a giant 3-ring binder. I have this little plaque on here. I painted a teacup on it. I'm not a painter, I'm not an artist, but I still like to do it for fun. So I painted a teacup on there and some mint leaves that's blossoming and some bluebells. Mint obviously is my favorite herb of all time. It's my favorite scent, it's my favorite taste, it's my favorite everything. I love mint. Pastels and neutrals are my thing. They're just very calming, very comforting for me, and I like to exude kind of like a cute grandma aesthetic. So, so this is my book. I'm also going to be putting some links to some Etsy shops in the description box because there are loads and loads of people who can create custom books for you on Etsy. This is a dollar store binder, and this plaque I got like secondhand at a yard sale. This fabric is secondhand, and this lace is also secondhand. These are all things that were cleansed and blessed for this purpose. Bless it and cleanse it and make it yours. I'm going to show you guys how I break down my BOS so that if you were starting your BOS now, you can kind of start along with me. I'm recopying all of my notes into this one all over again, which is fine because I like writing. I like rewriting things, and I like to see how my handwriting has changed. And I like to also add more notes in there so I can go ahead and just add to the knowledge that I already have and just fill in some blanks and stuff like that. Nice and fuzzy. You open it up, and I did put like a flap here, and I put like pens and pencils and scissors and stuff in here. Another thing, you don't have to have a giant binder. If you have one of those little small binders or something like that, those are great too. I just happened to have this giant one, and I do like a giant binder because I like to fill the pages. I just like big things. And so I start with herbs. Your sections can be whatever you're most interested in. I am very interested in herbs, as you can see. I just wrote herbs on there, and then I drew some out. Rosemary, dandelion, rose, dill, lavender, bluebells, of course, clover blossoms, mugwort, chamomile, cedar berries, star anise. You can just, put whatever you want on yours. It's completely up to you. These are just some of my favorite herbs that I use all the time. I break down each herb that I'm talking about. I just put the herb name. I put the other names on here too because they have like 1,000 names. They have their scientific name, and they have their folkloric name. They have names that people just have given them from how they look, in the past. So I write down the other names so that it's easier when I'm trying to find them. I have the element for each herb on here. It's an air element. I have the persuasion. Lots of things in magical lore have a feminine or masculine persuasion. That is something that has to do with how they procreate, or how they seed, how they grow. It's female or male, whether it receives or whether it gives. I have the planets that are associated with the herb. Jupiter, Mercury. I have the zodiac signs that are associated with the herb. I have deities that are associated with the herb. I have chakras or body associations that are associated with it as well. And then I have its folkloric uses, and then under that I have my uses and experiences. So whenever you're taking down notes for any kind of magical tool, I think it's really important to write down the folkloric and magical properties, and then to write down your experience with it as well. Because sometimes someone will say, I use onyx for protection, and you'll say that's great, and you'll get some onyx, and then you won't feel protected by onyx, or you'll still have whatever's been happening to you happen with the onyx. So onyx may not be protective for you. You might go in and find a labradorite is more protective for you. So writing down your own personal experience when it comes to anything is really important. I also have a section for crystals. I drew crystals all over here. You don't have to do any of this you don't have to do anything at all that I do. I'm just showing you how I break mine down. It is a very easy formula. I think it's important to have sections for everything that you're going to be working with. And then same thing, I write down the name of the crystal, its other names, what element, what persuasion, planet, zodiac, deities, chakras, and then I write down the herbal associations for the crystals as well, folklore and uses, if there's any mythology connected to the name or to the item. Sometimes deities or folkloric characters are named after plants or named after crystals, and so it is also important to write down their story and their mythology, just so you can see how it's associated with what the crystal or the herb does, and then you write down your uses and experiences for it as well. And like I said, the best thing about having a binder is that if I find more information on this, I can just pop in another piece of paper after it, and I don't have to change anything. Herbs, crystals, trees, animals, and dream work. Those are my 5 main resources for study. They're the things that I use the most in my magic. They are the things that I'm interested in the most. If you want to, you can have a section for deities, you can have a section for whatever you want. So some other suggestions for sections in your BOS, if you're starting out and this is your first book and you're just finding out everything, all the information, I would have a section about the elements. I would have a section about the history of witchcraft or Wicca, or whatever it is that you're studying. If you're studying voodoo, if you're studying hoodoo, I would have a section for history as well. After that, I would have sections for your main courses of study. So like I had herbs, trees, animals, blah, 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 I would have sections for the things that you're most interested in learning more about. And then at the end of your book, I would have just an area for blank pages for just notes, for your experiences, for your first time meditating, for your first time doing everything. Every first thing that you do, whether it's you're doing your first spell, or you're doing your first ritual, you're doing your first cleansing, anything that you do, so it's good to have a section to write down your first experience with that, so that you can go back and see what you did, or what you might want to change, or something like that. If you want to try a new method or new tools, you can go back and see what you did, and then what you want to switch out. And like I said before, if you want to then solidify anything that you've finished, that you feel like you are 100% confident with, and take those things and put them in your grimoire, you can do that as well. If you just want to have a book of shadows and that's all you have, that's fine also. Me, I am a notebook hoarder, and I like having multiple notebooks, which is why I do like having a rough copy, which is my BOS. It just has like whatever notes I'm taking in there. My grimoire, which is my hard copy, which is just for spell work and rituals that have already been solidified, that are already done, that I already like the way they work out. I do have a dream journal as well, which is just for writing down my dreams and then writing down interpretations for them. Some people like to use a very special and important utensil when they're writing in their BOS or their grimoire. They don't like to use just any pen, and I do agree with that. I do agree with having personalized items that you use specifically for writing in your BOS or your grimoire. So there are some really beautiful pens as well on Etsy. I'm like a promoter for Etsy, like I always have been. Like Mickey Mueller, who's just an incredible, incredible witch who I've been following for a million years. Literally, I don't even know. She's written for so many great publications. She's an incredible artist and a wonderful writer. And she also makes really beautiful grimoire / BOS pens. And she just listed some on Etsy. This is just me gushing over someone that I really admire. Personalizing your pen for your BOS can be a really wonderful and sacred thing to do. It's a great kind of ritual to have to bless and consecrate an item to use specifically for your magic. With your Book of Shadows, once you buy it or once you make it and create it, it's gonna have a really wonderful ritual with it by cleansing it and then blessing it and making it very personal for you. After it's cleansed and blessed, then you can take it to sleep with you. I always recommend any kind of magical tool that you get that you're going to be using all the time, that you go ahead and put it in your bed with you the first night that you have it. I know that sounds like weird, but I'm telling you, bonding with your tools can be wonderful. So I put my BOS in my bed, I snuggle it, you can put it under your bed. Same thing with the pen or the pencil that you're going to be using. If you guys are wondering how I made this BOS, I literally just got the fabric on here and I glued it with hot glue. You can sew it as well, you can do whatever you want. I went ahead and used hot glue because I use hot glue for almost anything. And it's okay to have multiple, because I know people that have like 15 to 20 Book of Shadows. Book of Shadows? Books of Shadow? Bosses, you know what I'm saying? You sometimes you just keep writing and you're taking notes, and eventually you will have multiple Books of Shadows. If you are continuing on your journey through your entire life, you're going to always be taking notes. You're going to be a 50-year witch and you're still going to be learning new things about the universe, about the world, about plants, about animals, about other people, about yourself. You're going to always be taking notes, and that's the wonderful thing about becoming a witch, is that you're always learning so much more about everything all around you, because you're open to it, because you're interested in it, because that's what magic is all about. It's all about everything all around you, taking it in, calculating it, breaking it down, turning it into magic, putting it back out into the world. Okay, any questions or any concerns, anything you want to ask me, go ahead and ask me in the comment section below. Sorry I didn't have a video last week. Last week was a crazy week. My son has just started school. He's a little schoolboy now, so I have time during the day to just be myself, which is just crazy. I had cancer screenings last week. It was just a very crazy, hectic, and insanely stressful week last week, so I did not have time to film a video. It was wild, but things are much better now. My doctor has called. I'm doing all right. Life is good. Hallelujah. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. This Friday is a full harvest moon, so get ready for that. It's going to be wonderful. I'm going to be listing loads of new things in my shop as well. I have been working on some really beautiful teacup candles, which are my absolute favorite, because you know I'm a teacup girl. Have a lovely time dancing naked under the moon. Have the best evening ever. Look in the mirror. Smooch yourself, because you're beautiful. Bye!